Hey folks, sticky time. So, I've done a little bit of footwork, showed a little bit of knife grips, done a little bit of hands. So back to basics, right? So why a stick? It's simple, right? So, generally in Filipino martial arts, you start with a stick. Surprisingly, you move to the knife, then you move to the hands, right? So with the sticks, your motions are large. With the knife, your motions shrink, and with the hands, they shrink even more, right? Become tighter, more efficient, more compact. These are teaching you the big motions, right? Knife creates a small motion. Hands, even smaller, right? Inches as good as a mile, kind of thing. So what I'm gonna do today is a couple of basic stick fighting things. Pay attention to the footwork videos I posted recently on my YouTube and on my Facebook. They will give you a couple of good concepts as far as movement, in, out. I'm going to talk about it a little bit today, but I'm mostly going to do upstairs, not a lot of downstairs. But just to get you the idea of how to function with sticks, okay? So first things first, I want you to learn to turn your hip, because my power doesn't come from my shoulder. My power transfers through my shoulder, okay? Where does it start? It starts at my hip? No, it starts all the way at my foot, okay? So what I'm gonna have you do, sticks up, sticks out, I don't care. Put your sticks wherever you want them. Stand square, so you can see everything. Stand square. You're going to turn your foot in till your toes are pointing toward the instep of your other foot, right? Shoulders are still square. Spin back, turn here. It's like crushing out a cigarette, scrunching a bug, right? It's that. Turning my foot, which in turn turns my hip, right? Okay? You'll recognize this from throwing a hook. It's the same basic motion you use for throwing your hooks, okay? So that's your first drill. Turn, turn. Okay? We're going to use that underneath pretty much everything else I'm going to show you today. All right? One stick. Okay? Leave your feet alone. Your stick is what's going to move. All right? I'm going to start up here, nice and big. All right? Making a diagonal across in front of my body. Diagonal motion. All right? Here. All right? Notice my hips turning. Notice my shoulder turning. Here. Right? Okay. Terminology. Diagonal, forehand. Forehand. For here. Diagonal. Diagonal, backhand. Fancy terminology. Forehand, backhand. let this roll over. Right? Now, you can start really big. Right? Extend my camera up a little bit. You can start really big. You know, you're going to shrink your motions as you get more tight and more efficient. Right? So I can go big and reach and go way outside the plane of my body. But as I get better, it stays pretty much inside the plane of my shoulder, right? See how it's not coming very far past my knee? Right? You start big, and then smaller and smaller. Right? Put your forehand and your backhand diagonal. Once you get the idea of that, it's rolling smoothly. Right? Remember, when this goes here, this rotates to bring it back up for the next one. It's a complete motion pattern. Right? It's kind of like a big infinity symbol. Right? I let this roll, roll, roll. Right? So once I get the idea here, right, it's square in front of us. X, 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 X. Okay? Now I'm going to start turning my hip, my foot, my hip, and my shoulder. See how that's coming more down. Right? Here. I'm still following that same line as if I was square. Right? Only now my body is moving, so I'm harnessing more gravity into my strike. So I turn and turn. You should feel that whip up through. Right? Here to here. Now I can be aiming high, I can be aiming low. You just don't want to be making little chopping noises like you're trying to cut grass, or what I always call fighting the garden gnomes. You're not trying to hit garden gnomes, right? Keep it about head and chest level. Right? It's an impact weapon. You hit somebody in the body, sucks. Not nearly as much as hitting them in the head. It's a stick. It's simple. No pokey, no slicey, no slashy, no stabby. It's just whack. So you have to generate power with it, especially with a smaller stick like this. Right? I think this is 7/8, maybe an inch at the most. Right? 7/8 ain't much diameter, not much weight. So you have to be able to generate speed to create power. You know, force equals mass times acceleration, right? So something light moving really fast is going to create a lot of force when it hits, right? Something moving fast with even more mass is going to hit even harder, right? Bullet theory, 9mm, 45, right? Why do they hit hard? Because they're little tiny light things. They're light, going really fast, right? So velocity matters, okay? All right, let's go back over that one more time. Here, here. Let my shoulders turn. letting my hip turn. Let your knees bounce a little bit if you need to. It's dynamic. Then here, 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 here. All right? Just keep this other hand floating. Don't worry about what it's doing right now. All right. So, diagonal. Horizontal. Starts out here, goes straight across, right? Straight across. All right. Luckily, you're wound up to make the backhand easy. Straight back. All right. Hip. Hip. Okay. Not super complicated. Now we add our feet. We do the little hook steps. All right, the backhand. Contact, rotate, right? I'm gonna go bang and rotate this over. Right? I don't want to stiff arm this thing, right? Because if I go to swing back, I'm going to have to turn it over anyways. So I'm not going like that. Not this. Right? Close. Open. Let this turn over so that it's ready for the next thing. All right? And again, don't get in the habit of being lazy and doing this down here at the waist. It's for cutting off heads of zombies. Kids, neck level, head level. Okay? So we've got diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, horizontal. Okay? Now we're going to do upward diagonal. Upward diagonal is here, a little bit like a golf swing. Right? So my forehand upward diagonal, my forehand backhand upward diagonal. Adding my feet to it, because I got a habit. Develop that habit. Okay? Not very complicated. It's tricky. There's a little bit of trickiness to this, right? Because you're going to want to lean back with it. Don't. Bring your chin and your shoulder together. That way you're not leaning. Same with this. You're going to want to open up and lean back. Don't lean back. Sink at the knees. Keep that back curled. Right? Keep that head on a swivel. So, forehand diagonal. Backhand diagonal, forehand horizontal, backhand horizontal, upward diagonal forehand, upward diagonal backhand. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. I know some systems use numbers. Not a big fan of numbers with these, but it's a good reference point. If you do it, no shame. But if I go to another school where I'm teaching and I'm like, do a number 3. What if their pattern's different? 1, 2, 3, right? Because a lot of systems have built-in patterns, right? Modern Arnis uses one, a 12 count. Very similar to this. Pakiti Tirsa uses one that's like 64 or something. Hell yeah, good for them. And Cinco Terra, they only use 5. Awesome. But if I say do a number 5, they mean this. Right? They're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a stab. So if I say 5, I would mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I go anywhere and I say forehand diagonal, they're going to do this. Okay, so terminology, I don't like to use numbers for it. I like to use words. As long as you're both speaking pretty close to the same language, you can use the words. And if you're not speaking the same language, you got one guy speaking Tagalog, one guy speaking German, one guy speaking English or Dutch or whatever, you just kind of grunt and look at each other and go, Other guy goes, oh, forehand, diagonal, meh. Oh, he means this, right? So motions will show you, words will give you the idea, okay? So diagonals, horizontals, upward diagonals, okay? There's also a return line set that we can do, but I'm going to keep this basic as possible. Show you 4 basic strikes that I teach. All right. Yeah, there's a couple more, but they're a little more tricky, a little more situational. All right. Last one, it's called a Widdick. Okay. My kids' class, we call it helicopters. Okay. I've done my this, and my stick's up here, pointing at them. I'm going to rotate and whip, right, here. I was here. Now I'm pointing my stick at him this way. Now I go all the way back around. Right? Drop shot. Make sure it gets over top of your head or you'll go whack. Right? This is a little tricky. Watch my elbow. See what I'm doing? I'm moving my elbow in order to allow my wrist to turn to the angle it needs to. If I'm striking with this, I want to strike straight ahead, right? I'm not trying to hit you over here and go like this and only get my wrist to turn halfway. If I bring my elbow in, look what happens. Now it's pointed straight at my target. My target's right in front of me. I want to hit through it. So I need some wrist flexibility, and I need some mechanics from my arm and my shoulder, and my hips and my feet. Okay? So, 1, forehand diagonal, backhand diagonal, forehand horizontal, backhand horizontal, upward diagonal forehand, upward diagonal backhand, Widdick outside, Widdick inside. Okay. Some things you can do to help with your wrist flexibility. Grab your stick in the middle. Let's do this. Back and forth and back and forth. Then do it over your head. Arm nice and straight. And bend your arm down a little and do it. And up. And come out in front of you. And do it off to the side. and do it in front of you here. And just keep moving it around, right? That's something that's going to help with your rotation, right? Don't do that with a heavy stick. If you do it with a heavy stick before you're ready to, you'll start giving yourself tendonitis in your wrist and elbows, all right? So that's one way, okay? Another thing you can practice is the redondo. I think that's what this is called, right? It's making a circle with the stick, but again, it teaches you to push that elbow in. You see that elbow dip inside? Notice that it keeps my stick in a circular plane. It's not going wobble, it's not stirring out here, right? Because my wrist just, that's as flexible as my wrist is, right? There. But if I move this in, see how it's creating a circular plane out here for me to rotate, but it's this elbow moving in that does it, okay? And vice versa, I can do it downward, I can do it upward, all right? Down, up. The whole point is that elbow's coming in. And it's still maintaining a circular plane out here. That's kind of good for flare and flash. There's some strikes in there, right? I can reset my strike real fast if I need to. Whack, whack, right? To get it back to where it needs to be. If I come up, I can make that a upward strike to the chin. Like I said, there's some weird strikes in here too. But this is more gooder for developing the motions than it is for an actual attack, right? That's kind of weird. It'll work. You can clip somebody in the chin with it, but I'd much rather clip them in the chin like that because that's got some ass behind it. So wiggle, 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 around and around, right? And do not let go of your stick with your fingers. If you do not have the flexibility to continue to rotate this with your fingers closed, then you do not have the flexibility to do this correctly. Don't let it come open, because if you're holding on with just this little, it's whack, and you're going to lose your weapon. All right? It's a stick. Right? If you're fighting with a stick, things have gotten really bad, right? But the point is, this stuff is to teach you movements. It's to teach you mechanics, right? And you never know. You get mugged at a construction site and you can pick up a piece of rebar. Haha! It's pretty heavy, right? So with the sticks, that's 4 basic strikes, okay? You can apply those strikes to the movements that we were doing last week with this triangle footwork, right? Remember? Whack, 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 whack. Doing those foot movements, right? You don't have to, but you can. So don't forget to do your hook stance too. These hook motions are important. Even if you're moving, right? You want your hip and your feet, you want your hip turning, even if your foot's not turning while you're landing. There's a whole series of stuff I do about attacking while you're moving. So this is to teach you the base. Those strikes are to teach you the basic strikes. That's to teach you the base movements for your hip, your shoulders, all that. So that you create a full chain from the ground up all the way out to your stick, right? Being relaxed, whipping it, controlling the momentum at the very end to snap, right? Quick terminology. This is a stick jab. So if I say forehand diagonal jab, I'm going to whack and I'm going to bring it back to where it started. If I say strike, it's going all the way through, right? Just FYI. All right, so that is my little video for today. I can go down the stick rabbit hole for a long time, and then it just starts bleeding into 2 sticks. Honestly, I'm not much of a 2-stick guy. It's kind of cool,
but like ADHD kicks in and I'm like, grrr. And plus I would rather be able to grab you with this extra hand, right? If I'm going to be having to hit you with this, I want it to where I can beat you with this part, right? I want to be able to move in ways that second stick forces me to use the stick where I want to get a hold of them, right? Grappler by nature. So I'll keep working on this for you guys and keep doing little videos and all that stuff. So thanks. I would say, like, subscribe to my stuff. I don't care. Tell your friends, whatever, right? I'm not here to be YouTube famous. That's for my kids' generation. I'm just here to send some knowledge out to the world on some things I like to do, and stuff I do for fun and keep me from getting too far out of shape as I get more gray, and help people maybe pick up on something that they've not really seen before, even if they've done a ton of martial arts. I know a lot of people who have no concept of Filipino martial arts. It was kind of the new hotness there for a little while. You know, like everybody did, you know, it was karate in the 60s and the early 70s, and all of a sudden Kung Fu became the thing. And then it kind of went back to Kung Fu and karate in the movies, and then all of a sudden UFC happened and everybody's doing jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and all that shit. And which I do jiu-jitsu and kickboxing too, so I'm not talking trash on it. I'm not talking trash on any of it. Maybe a little, but but then Filipino and the Southeast Asian martial arts, the Silat, those kind of things, Silat and Kali and Eskrima and the family of martial arts from that group. It's got its own unique thing, and honestly, it's some of the most brutally honest stuff. There are times when it is a little more flower than fruit, but the flowery stuff is meant to teach you stuff to make your fruit sweeter. Okay, you may or may not get that reference if you've done Silat. You know, there's martial arts, there's combat arts, there's combatives, and there's what Mark Denny likes to call martial arts and crafts. And the martial arts and crafts are the things that you spend years trying to make work, and you just have to find the right entry, you have to find the right bridge, you have to hit it at the right time, and you can do some of the crazy shit that you see in movies, but you gotta work at it. It's not just going to pop out. So, all right, guys, work at it. There's the lesson. Work at it. If this comes naturally to you, I hate you. Have fun.